Say night. Have you gone live? Right. Just waiting for the blue. Okay. It's yeah, we had me and Bongai.
Well, as soon as we take a seat, I presume that the briefing will start. The Premier has arrived. I was also able to see the NEC for finance in the province, Minister Ravi. He's the one who's dealing with money matters within the province. We do also expect that we might hear a word from him. You will recall that the last time there was a huge backlash with regards to the procurement of PPEs and blankets, amounting to about 30 million. An investigation was launched in April, and it involved two departments primarily, the Department of Communication as well as Social Development. The Department of Social Development was the department that was found wanting that procure blankets as well as PPEs, and it was found to be irregular. You would recall that one of the issues that was identified is that purchase orders for PPEs were given to 11 people, and it was found that the accounting officer had not approved that transaction. That was one of the issues. Quotation was also changed a number of times, but the price per in terms of the quantities that decreased, but the price per unit did not change. Those were just some of the irregularities that were found in that procurement. Around the blankets, there was also the issue that there was not proper needs analysis that was done. Before we purchase those blankets, some of the blankets were not delivered to the delivery, stored in a place that did not have access control, and therefore some of them disappeared. So there were huge issues. So we do expect the Premier to divulge in terms of which companies were involved, and also to give us a scope within the rest of the province, as mentioned, looking at other municipalities as well, what has transpired.
Yeah, just remove that one. Put that at one. For us, this has distance. media briefing. We've just been joined by the Honorable Premier of the Province of KwaZulu-Natal, Premier Sisezi Galala, who is also joined today by the MEC for Finance, Provincial Treasury, MEC Rabipile, as well as the MEC for Cooperative Governance and General Affairs, KwaZulu-Natal, MEC Sipoto Muga. In government, we've got the Provincial Executive, which is set by the Premier, which is what is also known as the Provincial Cabinet, although it's referred to as the Provincial Executive, legally speaking. We also have a cluster of MECs. We have about 4 clusters. The Premier chairs what is called a governance and state capacity and institutional development cluster. We call it the GC cluster. So the MEC sits with the Premier in that structure called the governance state capacity, state and institutional capacity cluster, which oversees the performance of the state, the building of a developmental state among its tasks with issues of governance, ethical and moral behavior in the state. So they constitute that cluster of cabinet or provincial executive, which is called the GC cluster. So without any further delay, I would like to hand over to the Honorable Premier to take us through the content of the briefing for today. Over to you.
No. Thanks, Mr. Mabaso. Thank you. And let me take this opportunity to extend greetings to members of the Executive Council, MEC Pillay, who's MEC responsible for finance in KwaZulu-Natal, and MEC Shomuga, who is the one responsible for cooperative governance and traditional affairs. But as Mr. Mabaso have explained, the whole issue of the disaster regulations falls under him, and therefore he is one of those who are tasked to lead and oversee the implementation of the COVID programs. We thank you, colleagues, for joining us today, and we would like to start by extending our appreciation for the work we have done together till this far. And having said that, as we welcome you, we will want to start by sending our condolences to the family of Comrade Paul David. Comrade Paul David is one of the stalwarts of the revolution. He served in the ANC and he started participating in the struggle under the UDF, the United Democratic Front, and he also served under the ANC. He passed on this morning, and we wish to express our condolences to his family. Equally, we wish to express our condolences to the family of Mayor Mkhunu, the mayor of Richmond, who passed on to, I believe, late yesterday, if not this morning. We would like to send a message to the people of Richmond as well as the family Yawamkhunu and the ANC in Moses Mabhida region. We have convened this media briefing today as the government of KwaZulu-Natal in fulfillment of our commitment to clean, transparent, and accountable governance. As the 6th administration, we have committed ourselves to delivering clean governance. We have thus far been working hard on a daily basis to earn the trust of the people through ensuring that we spend resources in a prudent and accountable manner. We live in an era of COVID-19, a health crisis of a mammoth proportion, but together with our people, we continue to work hard to ensure that we conquer this crisis. As devastating as it has been and continue to be on our lives and our livelihood, the COVID-19 pandemic has also provided with various opportunities. Part of this is the change to build a new architecture of the economy and also to introduce new systems in terms of governance and administration. I can maybe expand and elaborate that many of you will know of the command councils, and there are lessons we have learned out of working in that coordination. With regard to our response as governance to COVID-19, the country has come far from the 5th of March 2020, when the first confirmed case of COVID-19 was discovered in this province, and that was patient 0. The government moved quickly to implement a multiple-pronged response to the crisis. Our response focused on health, on ensuring compliance with the lockdown regulations, on assisting the vulnerable, and on economic recovery. Our country's response to COVID-19 has been very swift and is by far one of the most celebrated responses across the globe. With the cooperation of citizens across the length and breadth of the country, the response has been effective and led to us saving the lives of many people. In terms of the effort to label the government as irresponsible, maybe let me put this up front. As we work hard to save lives and livelihood from the health and socio-economic devastations imposed by COVID-19, we have disbursed financial resources, realizing that emergency procurement was always going to be risky. The provincial government took precautionary measures to prevent any abuse of these funds. Preventative measures include pre-audits of some of the procurement, while municipalities, entities and departments have been asked to report regularly on procurement. In cases where allegations of wrongdoing were reported, the government was quick to act on those. We've concluded 2 reports in a short space of time, and those have already resulted in the suspension of officials from the Department of Social Development, while the matter was also referred for criminal investigation. However, despite all these efforts, we continue to observe that in the public space, there are sustained efforts to portray the government as corrupt and irresponsible. This is part of a long-drawn and bigger plan to characterize the government as wasteful. We are fully aware of these efforts because, in a main, they are scarecrow to divert our people from the fundamental question of radical economic transformation. While we believe that there should be no mercy on those that are corrupt, and that the state should lead from the front in exposing that, but we should not use the incidents of the few to demonize all the good work that the government has done. Some of these narratives are peddled without facts, and we hope that all of the factual information we are releasing today will clear up the air. With regard to the expenditure on COVID-19, by the 27th of July, KwaZulu-Natal provincial government, inclusive of all departments, had spent 1,999,465,704 rand on the COVID-19 related expenditure. Municipalities had spent 925,271,000, and our public entities have spent just above 4 million. The expenditure by the provincial or by the province, inclusive of municipality and entities, stands at 2.9 billion. As we alluded to earlier, the COVID-19 pandemic has presented us with various opportunities while it has been very devastating. Through our response to COVID-19, we've worked hard to ensure that we will emerge out of this situation, having accelerated projects that would otherwise have taken very long to deliver. Of the 1.9 billion departmental spend, the 1.3 representing 57% of departmental spend was spent on infrastructure program. These are projects that relate to upgrade and alterations to healthcare facilities and to establishment of quarantine facilities. Many of these are infrastructure projects in schools, in our hospitals, and in our communities. Many of these projects will benefit our communities long after the COVID-19 pandemic has passed. We are releasing this detailed information so that each transaction is in the public domain. We assure our citizens that if there is any wrongdoing that will emerge, we will act and act swiftly with no fear or favor. There will be consequence management internally through disciplinary procedures and where justifiable through the criminal justice system. Now, let me start by presenting this information department by department. In page 4 of our report, we present all projects that have been undertaken, firstly by the Department of Agriculture, to the value of 19,319,447 rand 35 cents. Department of Arts and Culture, 1,135,808 rand. Department of Community Safety and Liaison, 775,277 rand 57 cents. Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, 1,431,529 and 11 rand. So in each of these, as we present, you can see these are projects and things that were funded. We are listing the department, the date, the product that was procured, the item, the description, the unit of measures with the quantity, and then we provide price per unit of measure in rands, quantity of units that were provided or procured, order in terms of rands, and the supplier name. The details, here are the suppliers, they are there. So from there, we go to economic development, tourism, environmental affairs. They have spent 7,416,575 10 rand. 10 cents, I'm sorry. In terms of education, they have spent 487 million 447,612 rand 63 cents. Health, 1,415,362,034 rand and 56 cents. The Department of Human Settlement, it has spent 807,7 rand and 58 cents. The Office of the Premier, it has spent 1,896,220 and 46 cents. The Department of Treasury, the Provincial Treasury, has spent 898,692 and 38 cents. Public Works, they have spent 1,970,574 rand and 67 cents. Social Development have spent 54,214,792 cents. And we list projects all over. In terms of sports and recreation, the department has spent 660,060 rand and 22 cents. Transport have spent 5,103,165 and 45 cents. Now, all departments were accounted for. You will see there, we then picked 15 suppliers by order value, meaning those that have the value, the higher value. The 15 are there, coming to 1.4 billion. It talks to GVK, Siyazama Building Contractors, Cape Town, PTY Ltd. You will see about, I think it's 311,623,118 rand 28 cents. Those are top 15 beneficiaries, so to say, from this program. In terms of the spend by product, as we have indicated, infrastructure, we have spent infrastructure just above 1 billion, 1.1 billion, and that is 57.1%, 0.01%. Sanitizers, 18%, mask, 9%. It goes down like that, and the details are provided. We then provide infrastructure analysis. The infrastructure that we've developed and built, Claywood Hospital, alterations and addition to wards, and we provide work that is done, the wards that have been altered and developed, and the value, the project value. For instance, there it is 232,437,919 rand. It goes down. You will see GJ Crook Hospital additional, its alteration and additions to existing wards in Block B, 96 million. You will see Durban Claywood complete refurbishment of ward, including roofing, windows, sewer, and plumbing, 80.9 million. Richmond, which have been a very, it has been a hospital which have been characterized as very poor in terms of its infrastructure. You will see there, it is now refurbished, and its value was 80 million. Wentworth Hospital, alterations and additions to existing crash building and Ward 2, about 79.1 million. And you will see there the refurbishment of the work at the staff accommodation of EMS College, about 68 million. Ulundi, St. Francis Hospital, upgrading the existing TB ward to become isolation ward and the auxiliary building to quarantine at 62 million. If you see the Richmond Chest Hospital, convection of Ward A2 and all of that into isolation ward, 61 million. The infrastructure maintenance for quarantine, 53 million. Fryhead Hospital, it's 52. Josini, 46 million. And that included the fencing and walkways. Scottberg and Josini and Scottberg, Dundee, Richmond, Pietermaritzburg, that is then a temporary facility which is Royal Agricultural Showground. And Doris Goodwin Hospital, we show there that 8 million was spent on it, and various quarantine sites as well as various hospitals which were rebuilt, 2.2 million. And then electricity upgrade of Richmond, 1.3. So we thought we should give this account in detail so that you will know that there is nothing that we will keep away from the public. But also, we take time also to provide spent or the expenditure per provincial entity in KwaZulu-Natal. Trade and investment, KwaZulu-Natal, 1.2 million. KwaZulu-Natal Liquor Authority, 920,000, 595 and 68 cents. KZN Gaming and Betting Board, 622,000. KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board, 402,000. KZN Film Commission, 279,000. Tourism KwaZulu-Natal, 159,000. Moses Kotane, 139,000. Itala Development Finance Corporation, 94,000. It's almost 95. Dube Trade Port Corporation, 87,000. Agriculture, Agribusiness Development Agency, about 86,000. Then when you come to municipalities, we have picked also some municipalities and we provide the spend there. With regard to eThekwini is 447,398. Umkhanyakude 154,399,000. Umhlathuze 85,148,000. And then it goes down like that until the last one. And this is then the detail. We thought we should bring it as such. But effort that continues to ensure transparency. We also want to announce that the Provincial Executive Council, which is the cabinet of the province, took a decision that in the interests of transparency and accountability to the citizens, it will undergo lifestyle audit. All members of the executive, this will include the Premier, members of the Executive Council, HODs, senior managers, and officials that are in the SCM, supply chain management. All of them would want to go through the lifestyle audit. the Executive Council believes that the integrity of those who serves our people should be beyond reproach. The Executive Council has taken this decision to demonstrate that those who serve the public must not only be competent, but must exhibit good, ethical, and moral standing. The details on how this will be done will be announced in due course, starting with regard to dates and the categories that are going to start going down on that. A careful analysis of the expenditure will show that we have spent more on infrastructure than any other item. This is why we believe that COVID-19 related expenditure will leave a lasting legacy. Even more than that, the expenditure has served to save thousands of lives, to shield our people from socio-economic devastation resulting from this investment. Our expenditure as KwaZulu-Natal should also be viewed in relation to our needs and population as the province. For an example, this province runs the biggest schooling system in the country. Thus, it is expected that the expenditure of COVID-19 response in school is going to be bigger than that of other provinces. Further than that, we believe that a comparison of price per item will show that KwaZulu-Natal has received value for money in most of the items procured as part of our response. We will publish all details, all these details we have provided today in the government provincial website. The website of the government is www.kznonline.gov.za, and we will equally provide this in the website of the Department of Provincial Treasury, and that website is www.kzntreasury.gov.za. I thank you, and I want to thank this opportunity for providing this information. And I would want to emphasize this point because even before we open for this engagement, if you see, we have spent firstly on what is characterized as impact investment. More than anything, 57% of the spend have gone to infrastructure. And that's why we are saying some of these deliverables will last longer than COVID-19 itself. We are not going to protect anyone who is facing disciplinary actions. We're going to equally monitor that departments implement disciplinary measures as expected. Thank you, Mr. Mabaso. I'm sure other colleagues might add or respond to questions. I think we'll take questions and we'll respond afterward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier, for the comprehensive report. Already a hand from my friend here up, and I take the first round. Is on time, but we'll be breaking protocol if we don't start with people's corner. But now that there's start with you.
It's fine.
You go first.
Thanks. Mr. Premier, I just wanted to know, sorry,
Okay, you'll be the house first?
it's Desiree for Daily Maverick. There's no indication in your report of the time frame that these things were procured for. So, for example, I don't know, and nobody will know, was it for 6 months, was it for 3 months? But that makes it a little bit difficult, especially when you're looking at the quantities, to know. And then, when did the first procurement phase end? If you could just give me a date of when the actual first procurement phase ended. And then also, I'm just a little bit confused. When I spoke to MEC Pillay after his Treasury announcement, his adjusted budget, he said that there were no pre-audits done because it was far too soon. And so everybody just basically picked up their emergency procurement and went forward. And you're saying that there were pre-audits done. So is that a case of pre-audits being done on the first batch, not being done on the first batch of items that were bought, but being done on the second batch? In which case it would be very interesting to know which items did not have a pre-audit. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. It's Kavil Singh from News 24. Yeah, I just have to find out, do we know that the companies that have been named as suppliers here, are they part of sort of the established database of suppliers in the province? Or do we not fully know, because there obviously have been reports of a lot of companies being created overnight with COVID-19. So do we know if these are part of an established sort of database, or it's possible it's not the case? And you mentioned in the report that there would be lifestyle audits for the KZN provincial government. In terms of that, because obviously people want to know, while we do have the names of these suppliers and the amounts, would there be any links to officials in government to any of these companies, family members, friends, anything like that? Is there a timeline for the lifestyle audits? Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Sure. So from KZN Namuhla. Thank you for the opportunity to listen to a very interesting breakdown of the procurement expenditure. Owamumbuzo uNankulu lana uthe infrastructure that has been put during this time of COVID-19 is going to last even long after this COVID-19 has gone. Well, I want to find out what's going to happen with these isolations and quarantine centers that we put, especially during this time. Are we going to see them continuing Zibakhona now? And then another question is about the social development issue of the blankets. The last time we had a briefing, we spoke about the blankets that were not delivered and yet they were paid. I just want to find out if they were eventually delivered to the department. And then the last one, the lifestyle audit. When is it going to start? And who is going to do it?
Okay. I think the first one.
Thank you, Premier. My name is Oscar from Eyewitness News. My question is that clearly from this document, Premier, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, because if you peruse through it, we know one department paid 329.22 rand for 5 litres of buckets of sanitizer. But if you flip a few pages, one department spent 1,022 rand. Is the work of trying to understand how that happened already being done? Are officials being called in to explain why one would buy a bucket for 1,000 rand, whereas someone else could easily get it for 322 rand? Thank you.
So, thank you. Can we allow the panel to answer the first round of questions?
Yeah, I think MEC Pili will deal with the first questions and I'll deal with blankets. I'm not sure MEC if he's got any comment for now. MEC Flomuga. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. I think, Desiree, you're quite right that there was no pre-audit in the first phase. It was too soon. They wanted to respond to meet the need. I think the whole purpose of the emergency regulations from national was to empower departments to be able to respond with speed. Yes, we're saying repeatedly there was a risk in that, and in some cases that risk has come to manifest itself. So the pre-audits it was impossible to do pre-audits for everything, but I can speak with authority on the second round of procurement by education, for example. And to the credit of education, after the experience of the first round, they actually went public in terms of beyond the requirements of the regulations. They actually published the bid on, I think it was the National Treasury website, and they actually got overwhelmed, I think between 600 or 900 responses, which defeating the purpose of the emergency. But I know that my team was involved in that up to a point, because we, as Treasury team, you can't make the decision for the department. Treasury can't be a referee and player, but was there to give some kind of guidance on that particular matter. So the short answer to your question is yes. The first phase, no. The second phase, not comprehensive, but in elements of especially education and health, those elements of pre-audit. Time frames, I think that's for the Premier on the lifestyle. Kavil, yes, I think the spirit of this is to put it all out in the public domain, and then whatever comes out of it is what we must be able to deal with. We would expect that all of these should be on the CSD, Central Supplier Database, and we not want to give you extra work for those who are urgently in need of that detailed information on who the directors or who the company is. It should be available there. But let me make give the assurance that we gave an undertaking to SCOPA to make that information available by the time of the next SCOPA meeting, but hopefully we'll be able to do it sooner. There are different systems at play here. The reporting format, for example, this line by line is one that is made to provincial treasury, and we're able to unpack it in that particular fashion. We'll then have to go to the central supplier database to pull out the additional information, but we've made the commitment to do that. It's just a question of time. So too with the detail line by line on the entities and the municipalities. Because we want to get some sense of what the municipalities were spending, and that's what we are doing here. But going forward, we will try to report with the same level of detail. And well, I'm hopeful that we say that COVID infrastructure issue speaking about it must give us a legacy in our system. I think there's a unanimity that we need a much greater level of transparency on procurement issues, and I personally would want to work towards a system where beyond COVID-19 the procurement details are published in the way this one is. Premier, I think that's mine. I'll leave the rest to you. I think the DSD details you will know as well. Thank you.
No, thanks. I think in addition to what MEC is saying, so we are starting. One of that is to ensure that once there is procurement, we ensure that we go public. But you will remember that when we addressed when we presented the State of the Province address, and when MEC Pillay, subsequent to that, presented the budget, we made commitment that we are going to evaluate some of the contract even before they are issued. So this is a commitment that we had made before. Safe to say, because it was at the beginning of the year and it happened before we start, we are now doing it with regard to COVID-19. But going forward, we will keep that. It's what we will ensure. So pre-auditing must happen as we go forward. With regard to the timeframes, I'm sure MEC Pillay covered some, but some of these things now, with regard to the contract in each department, while we will strive to provide you with information, the fourth estate, we as journalists now, have our own role that if we get the information, firstly we verify it. And after verifying it, we can then follow. Now, you'll see this is detail. So if you want to verify, you can now say, Department A, it is said that you procured this. And therefore, can you explain so that you've got more information? And I'm sorry to offer you this friendly advice because I'm also talking on the side of being also on the side of journalism. So that's how we work in terms of these things. Now, with regard to the database, you can check for yourself. The database is in the treasury and it's transparent. But two, we are expecting that all of these contracts were awarded to companies that are in the database. It will be too strange if there is any that was not in the database. We are expecting that it's companies that had been existing, not companies that were established solely for COVID-19. So that is our expectation. And once we establish that there is one or two that were established for COVID-19 and were not in the database, we will take actions. We are going to take actions. What will happen to these centers, as Sheila asked? These centers in KwaZulu-Natal, most of them have been built either inside hospitals or in a vicinity that is within the healthcare system. So they will still be utilized unless we then realize that there is no more need to hospitalize people. But as far as we know, we had a shortage of hospital facilities. That's why 800 of these 800 beds in eThekwini for quarantining, for isolation and quarantining are what? The Pilsika Isakaseme. And once COVID is over, Pilsika Isakaseme will be utilized for just helping as a healthcare facility, as a hospital. So that's, many of them will fall into that. I must report there are few temporal facilities that have been built. You will know of others, like the one we opened in Pietermaritzburg, the Royal Showground and others. Comparison, it's what Koskona can follow with departments. But as of now, what happened, maybe it was before, or its quantities, but now you will know that there is a price, a fixed price that have been put in place, and we're expecting that all department follows that. Who is going to conduct the lifestyle audit? We're going to finalize that, but there is an institution that is designated by government to do lifestyle audit. That is State Security Agent. It's able to coordinate, but it's the one that lead. It coordinates with all others, SARS and all of those that deals with lifestyle audit. So we are going to announce that, and we expect that the next Executive Council, either next week or the following week, will then give details. And then in terms of time frames and all of that. We have started, and I'm sure some of you can concur with us, we have been pushing departments to work quickly. If you notice, investigations have been taking time. Notice the two that we've done in social development. There was a report from one newspaper. We took that report to the executive. We got the first report from the department. We subjected that in the forensic process. Within 3 months, there was a report, 2 reports, and actions have been taken. So we are committed to clean governance. But I must say, we're committed to clean governance as we are equally committed to radical economic transformation. As we are presenting this information, yours is to go further and say, with this, what happened and all of that. Ours is to say, to which extent has this contributed to radical economic transformation? To which level? Because we must know that. And we are going to push this not for only ourselves. We must all be held accountable. If you talk about the distribution of food parcels, to make an example, There was a social development, but also there was a program through the Solidarity Fund. And accountability must not only be with us, all of us across the board must be held accountable. We are fully committed to the principle of clean governance, and we would want that clean governance to be maintained, but we will equally want to advance radical economic transformation. We will not want to see these benefits going to one and the same companies. They must be spread. But two, we would want to see those who were oppressed, the blacks, benefiting from this procurement. So we are going to do that. We will see. One of the things that we are considering, we are discussing, not in government now, but in the ANC, is that there must be an analysis of government spend annually as to which and how it has contributed to radical economic transformation. We are repeating the statement we've made here that some are saying we have not delivered because to a certain extent they are frustrated that they didn't benefit the way they used to because they have been monopolizing the state. Now, we are not going to hear back be held on ransom by people who mobilize on the basis that they didn't benefit and they want everything on their own. No, criticism is correct. But if you criticize, tell us, let's investigate, but let us advance radical economic transformation. And on that one, we're not going to be apologetic. It is the policy of the African National Congress, and the ANC is the one that have mandated us to be in government. We're going to advance it in each and every procurement, in each and every expenditure. We will have to say, this is how far we've gone in terms of benefiting the Africans and the blacks in general, the people who were previously marginalized from the economic mainstream of this country for more than 3 centuries. And that must be understood clearly. We are not going to apologize on that, and we are not going to apologize on the quality of services that is provided to the people. Even if it is a black company, it must provide a service that is of good quality, that will last. And that is our approach as KwaZulu-Natal government.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. I'm not sure if there's any last round that we take here. I'll start with my colleague at the back there, to be followed by you, sir, Mawande. Nkos Corner will come before theirs, and then Kavili will be the last one. So that's the final round, colleagues. In that order, sir.
Premier, this is Mervyn Naidoo from the Sunday Tribune. My question relates to PPE and how that is being basically distributed with regards to SEM processes. So what is the directive given to SEM managers in terms of distributing work? Because obviously you have to be on the database to qualify for work. So in other words, if you own a construction company, do you have is latitude given to those companies to supply PPE and other related materials? Thank you.
Okay, I will. Next colleague.
Premier, I'd like to find out, with regards to the issue around procurement at the Department of Social Development, we had spoken about the fact that there are those companies which are found to be wrong. At this point in time, have they been removed, blacklisted from the database, or can they tomorrow tender to do specific projects and be awarded? What update can you give us to what actions have been taken against those companies or individuals?
Okay, thank you, colleagues. May I request that you switch on your mics when you speak, because those that are listening are complaining that they're not hearing you. The next colleague.
It's me, Mr. Mabas. Premier, I asked this question cognizant of your statement that politicians don't deal with procurement measures, but I would like you to indulge me here, please. There's clearly something that is inconsistent within the Social Development Department. if you look at the masks they brought similar types of goods, masks, sanitizers, and they pay different prices for these goods. Surely there must be a conversation you should have with the person you've entrusted to lead and perform oversight at that department. And can I ask at this particular point, what conversation are you having with the Social Development MEC in light of the fact that her department spends money inconsistently? Thank you.
Hi. Is this thing on?
Yeah, so.
MEC Pillay, you didn't answer. I wanted to know when the cutoff date was for the first round of procurement. And then just to follow up on what Nkosi said, I'm assuming that there would have been a bit of a cluster disaster with the first round of procurement. Hence, we get different amounts for different departments. And a pre-audit, I would think, would have picked that up. What was the thinking, and I'm sorry to dwell on this, of just going gung-ho ahead and not doing any kind of pre-audit? I mean, even just, were you involved in any way? Or was it just a case of, well, it's such an emergency, let's just, yeah, okay, go for it.
Thank you. Kabir?
Thanks.
Thank you. Premier, just a question on, we understand that there has been that investigation to the Department of Social Development. Currently, are there any other investigations into any other departments within the KZN government with regards to procurements or tender irregularities that are underway by the Provincial Treasury or any other elements within the government? Thank you.
Thanks. Also one related to social development. Now that that department, many of its key heads have been suspended, how is the functionality of that department since that's happened? And in terms of MEC Khoza, as the political head, while there was a statement about the suspension from the department, she hasn't publicly really spoken on the matter yet besides that statement. Do you as a Premier feel she's still capable of leading that department without having said anything to the public yet that she is accountable to? And then with rampant corruption in the ANC at the moment, with ANC deployed officials during COVID-19, what's the Premier's thoughts on action that should be taken against corrupt cadres? And do you have any points of guidance for the President, who has come under fire quite a lot recently, who has not been able to stop any of these acts? And what do you believe as the Premier should be a long-term solution for the years of corruption from ANC officials in government?
conservative in their projection, and for the benefit of hindsight, they were correct in that, because you then had the staggered coming back to school, and you didn't need all of them at one time. So as that stock finished, they then had to go to a second round of procurement. So each department will have made its own assessment of its needs. Schools would have been quite unique in its projections as to how many children will come back at each time. Health will be quite different.
Thank you.
Let me see.
No, thanks. I think let's extend our questions to Prima MEC on journalists here. I think I just want to deal with one issue, then the Prima will do. As we are here, we are representing a provincial government, the Executive Council. So it might be incorrect to say why a particular MEC is not, because we are presenting what the Executive Council have agreed on, of which MEC Khoza is the MEC for Social Development, she is part of. And the very same Executive Council who took a decision to investigate for social development, of which she was part of. And it's not true, it's not correct that she have never said anything about the report that was presented. I can't remember the specific date, but at some point she was at Ukhozi FM where she dealt with the issues. And she also indicated that the department have taken a decision to suspend those officials, and then the DC process is taking place. So I think I just wanted to clarify that it's not correct that the MEC Khoza, she's not doing anything, or she don't have an appetite to deal with the issues that are appearing on the forensic investigation. I think it's important, Prima, to say that, because tomorrow we might be asked, when the Prima, as the chair of the Executive Council, is presenting the decision of the Executive Council, then we are asked, where is a particular MEC, he or she is not willing to come and raise issues in the media briefing. Whatever decision or whatever the Prima that is presenting on behalf of the provincial government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Premier, there's also a request for Zulu Sama.
Okay. No, but let's discuss these issues and deal with them direct and not try to. Maybe the first one to put aside is there is no investigation relating to COVID-19 spend as of now. I'm not sure whether there is. But various departments had investigations that goes back, that were happening even before. And I don't think that could be engaged here in detail. And I think that's the work we can do through MECPLA and appropriate offices at some point. Now, the second issue that I think MECPLA dealt with the issue of pricing, and I believe so. He then dealt with that one. The MEC for Social Development have not spoken on this issue. What are we dealing with and what are we discussing? After finalizing the two reports, we met with MEC. We gave her the report as prepared by Treasury, and we went through the report. She took the report, convened the convened the administration, HOD, I believe. They started the implementation. It is the MEC who came back to me to report that they have started disciplinary actions. Because we gave them the report and say, you must now act on this. They then decided that the action 1 will be this, action 2 will be this, action 3 will be this. They've given us a plan to deal with issues, and that plan is good, it's showing. And that's why we're talking about those involved being suspended right now. Now, I think it will be unfair to say, no, she has not done anything, yet there are people who are suspended in the department. If she was taking the approach you are suggesting, she would have stayed and not suspended them. But she has suspended them, and there are disciplinary actions. I also have said that we are going to monitor the disciplinary actions by departments as the Premier's office now, whether they are credible enough and they are not just cover-ups, and we must be fair, deal with discipline in a fair way. So I think let us be honest in dealing with that. What we would say about the ANC cadre deployment and corruption? Now, that question, in a proper context, put it in its context, it suggests that the volume of this contract might have been affected by corruption. That is the first. It then generalized that this is done by the ANC. Let us be practical. Let me take you to one page. I just want to show you something. It's page 15. Number 9, I'm making an example. Number 9 will be Chozini Municipality. Chozini Municipality have spent about, I would say, 9 million. 9.6 on this period. Is that the ANC cadre? Who's the ANC cadre in the governance of Chozini? And why I'm raising this? The ANC is not governing Chozini. I'm raising this not to say Chozini is wrong or not, but to say corruption, it's systemic, it can affect any government. So don't say it is the ANC corruption, but say to us, what is it that you are doing? As the ANC and the Premier assigned by the ANC, one, we've managed transparency. That's what we are doing now. 2, as the ANC government, we are ensuring that we are going to pre-audit in all contracts going forward, as presented by MEC Pillay during his budget speech. We're going to continue doing that. As the ANC government, we are going to ensure that the procurement system is transformed and reviewed to be more transparent. And the ANC from national is discussing that, our own PEC is discussing that how are we going to ensure that the procurement system of government is transparent? There's even an idea, among others, that we must have something that has a participation of people outside government as people who will be observing. So there's that discussion in the ANC. We'll expedite that, see how do we ensure that the procurement is transparent. But if people are wrong, let people be disciplined. The ANC has not mandated people to go and do wrong things. There is no ANC that have said people must go and do wrong things. There are people who are in business here. They are not ANC, some of them. If they are doing wrong things, they must be arrested. So let's not put this. There is this narrative in the society that seeks to suggest that the ANC is corrupt. Let's deal with corruption as it is. Let's deal with corruption of officials, of politicians, and let's deal with corruption of those who are corrupting the public officials. So let's be holistic in addressing these matters. We are here to present this report with a great commitment to preserve one, integrity, caring government, and a government that is responsible and transparent. We are guided by principles of ensuring that we serve all people irrespective of their standing and status. We are guided by the need to transform the system to benefit especially the poor who have been marginalized for decades in this country. So we are committed to our strategic objectives as we alluded earlier. Let me summarize ngesizulu. Singulumeni waKwaZulu Natal siyafisa uqinisekisa abantu baKwaZulu Natal ukuthi isimo se-COVID-19 siyi-challenge esibhekene nayo siyisonke njengesizwe. sisifice singalindele futhi akekho namunye kuthina obe nohlelo lokuthi sizodila kanjani nalesi simo. Siyafisa ukubonga ukuthi nakuba impilo zethu ziphazamisekile, kodwa iningi labantu bakithi liresponde ngendlela eyinguqukweni eyibekwe uhulumeni, including i-lockdown nokunye okuhambisana nokuyiphatha ukuvikela abantu bakithi ukuthi bangangenwa ilesifo nokuthi asebethelelekile bakwazi ukuthi balekeleleke basinde ngokusheshsha. Siyafuna ukuthatha lolu thuba lanamuhla ukuchaza ukuthi uhulumeni waKwaZulu Natal uzibophezele eqinisekiseni ukuthi sisebenza ngendlela evulelekile, la wonke umuntu azi ukuthi uhulumeni wenzani, la imali zikahulumeni zisebenza ngendlela esiza abantu bakithi bonke, isikakhulukazi labo abaphila amezingeni eliphansi lempilo. Siyafuna ukusho ekulweni ne-COVID-19 iyonkana, uhulumeni waKwaZulu Natal uspende imali ecela ku-1.9 billion wakha izakhiwo, uthenga izinto zokuyivikela nokuningi obekwenziwa ukulekelela ama-departments ukwazi ukuqinisekisa ukuthi silwisana nalesi sifo. Imali eningi esebenze kulokhu iye kakhulu kwi-infrastructure ngoba singaqinisekisa ukuthi ukudlula kwe-COVID-19 kuyoshiya indawo eziningi, especially indawo eziyikhungo zezempilo zihlukile ngoba sikwazile ukwenza i-investment enkulu kwingqalazinda i-infrastructure. Engasho ukuthi i-infrastructure esikwaze ukuyenza la KwaZulu Natal icela ku 1.9 i-infrastructure icela ku 1.1 billion. Lokhu okungu 57% wani wemali esetshenzisiwe ibheke ngqo kubantu ekutheni ibhedlela zithuthukiswe. Yingakho ama project amakhulu ebesiwenza efana nokuthi sithuthukise ibhedlela, sithuthukise indawo la abantu bengathola khona usizo ngokwe quarantine, and indlela esenze ngayo iyasilekelela ekutheni siqinisekise ukuthi even sedlulile leli gciwane, lezi indawo ezakhiwe kabusha ziyakwazi ukuqhubeka zisebenze ngendlela. Siyafuna ukubonga ukuthi ezinye zezinto ezenziwe zifaka ukuthuthukisa ibhedlela ebesezi abantu bengathanda kuya kuzo ngenxa yokuthi izinga lazo beseliphansi kakhulu. Kodwa namuhla lezo ibhedlela seyikwazi ukuthi accommodate abantu baye kuzo balale bakwazi ukuthi bathole usizo ngendlela eyiyo. Asisho-ke ukuthi sizimisele ekutheni njengoba sethula namuhla yonke imisebenzi eyenziwe through i-COVID-19, sithula futhi neinkampani ebezenza leyo msebenzi nemali ukuthi bekuyimalini. Sikwenza lokhu ngokuyibophezela ekutheni sihole sibe uhulumeni oneqiniso nothembekile nosebenza ngendlela eyiyo. Ngiyathembisa futhi ukuthi kungekudala sizoqala i-lifestyle audit ezobibheka kuwo wonke amalunga e-executive council, okusho ukuthi amalunga abaphathiswa bonke, but izobheka futhi impilo zabantu abakwi-administration kusukela phezulu kuya kwi-senior management kuya kuma-officials akwi-supply chain. Sikwenza lokhu ngokuyibophezela ukuthi abantu bazi ukuthi njengabasebenzi bomphakathi asibhekile ukusebenzela thina nje kuphela, kodwa kubalekile ukuthi uhulumeni wethu uthembeke futhi usebenze ngendlela eyiyo ekwazi ukuletha izidingo ngokunakekela ngemali ephansi, ekwazi ukuletha izidingo eindaweni zabantu bonke. Enye yezinto ezizoyenza ukuthi futhi njengosesilithula le report sesiyithula, sizobuya sibheke futhi ukuthi sihambe kangakanani ukuthi kwi-procurement ebiyenziwa kube khona ukuguqulwa komnotho okusho ukuthi imisebenzi eminingi iye kubantu ababecindezelwe ngesikhathi sobandlululo futhi ingayi kubantu ababodwa kodwa iye kubantu ngokuvuleleka ukuze siqinisekise ukusabalalisa umnotho kubantu abaningi rather than ukwakha igcuntswana labantu okuyilona elibenefita kuhulumeni ka abaningi bebe besele ngaphandle. Siyabonga.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier, Honourable MCs. We adjourn here for today. We shall see you colleagues on Sunday. We'll advise about the time because we are likely to change the time from 2 o'clock because soccer has started. We might be earlier than that, the normal time on Sunday for our COVID-19 update. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
When we get time.
We don't want to compete with you because we know your team is playing at 3. So in case there's an overlap,
What is playing at 3? Oh.
Angiyazi